Okay, so I know I haven't been like reviewing new movies lately, and not just because of COVID and the shutdown. I mean, because there still are new movies coming out just on VOD and digitally. So, and I haven't seen World Tour or Scoob or the new Josh Trank movie Capone. So I decided to make a new series on my show where I review some movies that are praised or like one of the greatest movies ever, and this is like my first viewing of them. So over during quarantine, I've actually been watching a lot of movies every day. Literally, like just even on like a school day, like whenever my mom, because my mom does work like right next to the TV room, I get up like sometimes early in the morning before her just to watch a little bit of a movie, and I get to continue watching more of it that night. So I thought about, again, just reviewing some movies that are just praised, Oscar winners, whatever, and just like giving my thoughts of my first viewing of them. So I'm gonna start with a recent one that since with me getting Netflix. So I'm gonna start with Marriage Story.
To know you forever!
Oh, you're fucking insane! And you're fucking winning!
Are you kidding me? I wanted to be married. I'd already lost. You didn't love me as much as I loved you.
What does that have to do with LA? What?
You're so merged with your own selfishness, you don't even identify it as selfishness anymore. You're such a dick!
Every day I wake up and I hope you're dead. Dead like if I can guarantee Henry would be okay, I'd hope you get an illness and then get hit by a car and die.
Alright, so, after, getting, like, Netflix and watching the movies that got nominated from last year, I liked The Irishman. That was very good. Then I got to Marriage Story. I just, not that it's not the plot, or I'm just not really into, like, movies about divorce. I mean, I think part of the reason why it just didn't win or didn't get that much awards is because the Oscars already nominated and picked a movie about divorce for Best Picture, which was, by the way, it was Kramer versus Kramer, and that sort of beat out Apocalypse Now and making that one of the worst Oscar ones, I guess. But I just didn't think Marriage Story was that great. I haven't seen any other movie from Noah Baumbach, I think that's his name. Even though I like his girlfriend, who is director of Lady Bird and Little Women, which was also nominated the same year. And I didn't get why Laura Dern won Best Supporting Actress, because all she does is just like stand around and talk about like how divorce and how divorce works. And so I just really didn't get into it. I'll say I liked the ending, but the courtroom scenes are just too long. But I really do like the acting from Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver. I think they both should have just won the Best Actor award instead of Phoenix or Zellweger, because they were just like begging for an award when like they were really just when like Driver and Johansson, they were like really just acting because they're actually really good at it. Not saying Phoenix is a bad actor. But, and also, like, my dad doesn't even kind of want to watch it just because divorce is, like... Because I guess when you're a parent, or, like, divorce is just something you don't want to think about, or when you're a kid, but I'm really just not, like... I don't think divorce is that depressing, and, like... I don't get why, when people, even, like, sometimes, I think people, like, complain when sometimes, like, in kids' films, when sometimes they bring divorce in it, which is not really I don't think it's a big deal for me. I don't think, not that I don't think it's necessary, but yeah, Marriage Story, it was all right. I mean, it didn't win that much. It only won one award. I don't really praise it that much. It's still good. Like I love the score. I think maybe the score I would have liked it if the score won, even though I wanted Star Wars to kind of just win the score. But yeah, Marriage Story, it was good. Again, like. It was fine. So I'm gonna move on from this one. So I'm gonna actually just give it like a 7 or a 6 out of 10. Alright, so another movie I saw, I actually watched, back on Easter, Schindler's List.
The list is an absolute good. The list is life. All around its margins lies the gulf.
I don't want to get too deep into this one, because I'm making a Steven Spielberg top 10 list when West Side Story comes out in December. And but I really like this movie. I watched it again. I watched it back in Easter, and I really love how they did a picture of just Nazi occupied Europe, and it's just this world that just shows no mercy. And Liam Neeson and Ralph Fiennes, they should have won the award for Best Supporting Actor and actor over Tommy Lee Jones and Tom Hanks. I'd also definitely check this interview with Steven Spielberg on NBC. That was back in 2018 when it got a re-release. But yes, Schindler's List I love it. I give it 9 out of 10. Alright, so next film, The Social Network.
Mr. Sapp. Mark! Mark!
He's wired in.
Sorry?
He's wired in.
Is he?
Yes.
How about now? You still wired in?
No security.
You issued 24 million new shares of stock. You were told that if new investors came along... How much were your shares diluted? How much were his?
What was Mr. Zuckerberg's own?
You signed the papers.
You set me up.
You're gonna blame me because you were the business head of the company and you made a bad business deal with your own company?
This is gonna be like I'm not a part of Facebook.
It won't be like you're not a part of Facebook. You're not a part of Facebook.
My name's on the masthead.
You might want to check again.
It's because I froze the account?
You think we were gonna let you parade around in your ridiculous suits pretending you were running this company?
Sorry! My Prada's at the cleaners! Along with my hoodie and my fuck you flip-flops, you pretentious douchebag!
Security's here. You'll be leaving now?
I'm not signing those papers.
We will get the signature.
Tell me this isn't about me getting into the Phoenix. You did it. I knew you did it. You planted that story about the chicken.
I didn't plant the story about the chicken.
What's he talking
You
about?
had me accused of animal cruelty.
Seriously, what the hell's the chicken?
And I'll bet what you hated the most is that they identified me as a co-founder of Facebook, which I am. You better lawyer up, asshole, because I'm not coming back for 30%. I'm coming back for everything.
The Social Network. Alright, so this is probably the biggest team up from a director, a great director and a great writer, David Fincher and Aaron Sorkin, which they're very good. Fincher's directing and Sorkin's writing, they actually combine so perfectly in this movie, and I really just love how David Fincher's films look. And I also love how I love how the acting, mostly Justin Timberlake, for a pop singer who you think it'd be hard for someone like that to say Sorkin's dialogue, but he actually does a really great job, and I think he should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actor. I don't think he was. I think Garfield was. I haven't looked at it, but. My only problem is that maybe because it's just, I'm not a big fan of movies that are told in chronological order, or that's how Fincher likes to talk about stories. But yeah, it's a decent film. I don't think it's that great. I didn't think it needed to win at the Oscars. I think Inception should have won instead of King's Speech, in my opinion. But I really do like The Social Network. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. It's a pretty well made and directed, written and acted movie. And I'm going to leave it as that. So on to the next movie that I like, Midnight in Paris.
Oh, yeah. You're an American?
If you count Alabama as America, which I do, I'm Mr. Bathtub Gin. What do you do?
Me, I'm a writer.
What do you write?
Well, right now I'm working on a novel.
Oh, yes? I'm Zelda, by the way.
All right.
Oh, Scott?
Yeah.
Scott!
Yes,
come
what
over
is
here.
it, sweetheart?
Here's,
Sure.
here's a writer from,
Oh, a
where?
writer.
California.
Scott Fitzgerald. And who are you, old sport?
Guild. The same names as
As what?
Scott Fitzgerald and
Scott and Zelda Fitzgerald, the Fitzgeralds. Isn't she beautiful?
yes, yeah.
Alright, I think Woody Allen is a good comedian, but my problem is that Annie Hall, which won Best Picture, it beat Star Wars at the 1978 Oscars. Really, Star Wars was nominated for Best Picture, but it lost to Annie Hall, a romantic comedy. I don't know. That just gets so much under my skin, and like, that should be the biggest Star Wars trivia question, and it should be the biggest Oscar snub over Saving Private Ryan, The Social Network, and 2001: A Space Odyssey. Okay, yeah, I said it, but Midnight in Paris, I really love it. I just love this story about Owen Wilson, this writer who is just kind of trapped in this world with his like wife and just her like know-it-all friend, and then he goes back in time to like the 1920s in Paris during a vacation, and it has a great message about just stopping to smell the flowers, and how it's a commentary on how the people in the 20s think the 1890s were like the best, and then the 1890s think the Renaissance were like the best time. That's the thing that I really like about it. And I think this movie really should have won the Best Picture nomination of 2012. But I really like it. I mean, it's good. Okay, he did win original screenplay, which is very good. And I just love the ensemble cast that they have of Owen Wilson, Rachel McAdams, Marianne Cotillard, Adrian Brody, and Kathy Bates. It's a very good cast they have. And yeah, Midnight in Paris, I think it might be his best film, maybe even my favorite movie. And I definitely should have put it for 2011 instead of X-Men First Class. Not that I don't hate X-Men First Class, I still like it. But yeah, Midnight in Paris, great movie. On to another movie that was nominated that year.
308, 309.
So I've been starting to, get in and watching Martin Scorsese films, and I've already watched Goodfellas and The Irishman on Netflix. They're very good, but for mob movies, they are kind of similar because I feel like Scorsese has like a formula to his gangster films. But I'm not gonna get into it right now because Hugo is not a crime film. But Hugo, for a kids film, it's pretty good. I think kids can kind of enjoy it, but I think kids just don't have that much, because I was 5 when this came out, and I really just didn't have that much knowledge for silent films. And I didn't even know, films used to be silent a long time ago, so it would have been a little confusing. And it does feel like Scorsese's just geekiness for, old films, and with him, recently saying about superhero movies, and they're theme parks. And because it really just shows how he really loves like old cinema and how that's really cinema, that's film, and just how like these comic book movies are not. Which, I mean, that's his opinion. I do like it still. I love just the acting from Asa Butterfield, Ben Kingsley, and Sacha Baron Cohen. They do a very good job. I love just like the setting about how like they Martin Scorsese like sets up this world in this train station in Paris, even though it mostly takes place all around Paris, and also Christopher Lee as like the bookstore owner. I really do like it. I definitely would recommend Hugo. It's not perfect though. I'm not really big on if it won Best Picture. I mean, the funny thing about it is that for a movie about silent films, it lost to a silent film, The Artist. But yeah, Hugo, it's not his best film, but I like it. I give Hugo a 8 out of 10.
You were expecting someone else?
So, my blinds was getting too sunny. I had to shut the blinds, and so now we gotta stick with a fan. So, the next films that I've recently watched, Goldeneye and Tomorrow Never Dies. The first two, Pierce Brosnan, James Bond movies. I haven't seen the last two, but I did find Die Another Day at a thrift shop, and which is probably the only place this is like this movie just kind of sits at like a Rite Aid collecting dust every day, and I haven't seen it. I don't know if it is going to be the worst Bond film. Still, the worst Bond film was Quantum of Solace. Okay, but whenever Goldeneye gets talked about, it is always referred to as definitely one of the best Bond movies, and I can see why. It definitely made Bond definitely good again, because with with the 80s just wasn't James Bond's high point, with Roger Moore not going on the best leaving on the best note, and just there was like those two rival films back in '83 with Never Say Never Again and Octopussy. And the Dalton films, though very beloved today, they just weren't the financial and critical success they were back then. So Goldeneye definitely brought it back, and it definitely had what people kind of want in a Bond film, action, and definitely Bond and characterization. And that's what Martin Campbell did bring back. I really do like Goldeneye. It's a very good action movie from the 90s. I mean, it came out in 1995. There was like very good action movies at that time, like Braveheart and Bad Boys. And I definitely love the new villain from Sean Bean, 006. He's I think the idea of like a rogue spy, introducing that into the in Bond, that was very good. But yeah, Goldeneye, I really like it. Tomorrow Never Dies. It's not as good as Goldeneye. It was originally supposed to be called Tomorrow Never Lies, which would have been good, but I don't get why they switched to this. Also, the thing with like the Bond girls is weird. Like the one that Bond used to date or something gets killed, and the one from I forgot her name. The other agent who was supposed to, I think she was actually going to get her own spin-off. I don't know, there's been times they've been trying to make like these Bond spin-offs, and there is actually thinking of like having a okay, there has also been talks that they're going to do James Bond they're not going to make James Bond as a woman, but they might replace James Bond as a new 007 who's a female, like whatever they're hinting at in No Time to Die. But yeah, I like Tomorrow Never Dies. It's fun at times, but my problem is the action is just a little lacking. Maybe it's just because the director, Roger Spotswood, sorry if I can't pronounce your name right, who's this Canadian man. He's not really good at directing action, really, but it's just not as good as Goldeneye. Although I do kind of like the motorcycle chase. But yeah, that's the first two Bond, Pierce Brosnan movies for you. They're pretty good. Goldeneye, I give an 8 out of 10. Tomorrow Never Dies, I give it a 6 out of 10. Alright, next one. Lord of the Rings, Return of the Kings. Just Return of the Kings. And also, this is the theatrical version of Lord of the Rings, not the extended version. So the reason why it's just Return of the King is because I bought this about 3 years ago, and I watched both Fellowship and Two Towers. When I got to Two Towers, I really just didn't like it that much. So then I heard about all the stuff about Return of the King and all just the endings to it. So then I thought maybe I shouldn't really watch it. But then until this came around, I felt like I had time to kind of watch all three of these movies. So I eventually did. I rewatched Fellowship, Two Towers, and I finally watched Return of the King. Alright, but if you want to know my thoughts on all three of them, alright, here we go. Fellowship, I love it. Two Towers, I love it. It's probably my favorite one out of the trilogy. Return to the Kings, okay, I'm a little mixed on it. I think the problem, and it's not just the endings, it's just something about it. And I think a big problem is really Aragon, and how I don't get why Peter Jackson didn't cut the scene. He cut the scene for the theatrical version where Saruman, Christopher Lee's character, dies. And the thing about, was it Merry or Pippin with the big ball, and they got to go to Gondor. Just some stuff. It feels a little odd for just the final film. Not saying the action is still very good. The elephants with those orcs on it, that was awesome. And when all those ghost kings, that was great. And the stuff with Frodo, Sam, and Gollum, it's very tense. And just that scene when they were in Mordor and when Frodo's about to throw in the ring, there's so much tense in it. But yes, the endings, alright, when Aragorn is getting married in Gondor, and I like that, and when they say to the hobbits, you bow to no one, I like that. But yeah, when it gets to the Shire, they should have just ended it right there at that wedding, really. And just how it's just so long. And I've even heard that there's so many more scenes in that. I just really I couldn't even take the film seriously once they went to the Shire. I couldn't take it seriously anymore. Now it winning Best Picture. Alright, it actually really, what people I can't believe no one gets this, but the Oscars just really gave it to the entire trilogy itself as a final accomplishment, because since the trilogy was finally accomplished, and then Peter Jackson complained how they didn't nominate The Hobbit, and I haven't seen The Hobbit yet. I've heard it's mixed. I do plan on actually maybe even reviewing those movies when this new Amazon prequel show comes along. I actually might review The Hobbit. But yeah, Lord of the Rings Return of the Kings, I was not really... Okay, well, if you want to... And I give it I'm going to give it a 7. It's 7 out of 10. It's good. I think it's not bad. It's not close to bad. It's just, I was a little disappointed. I think I got to keep watching it more. That's all. So next film, Gone with the Wind.
Red, Hugo, where shall I go? What shall I do?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Alright, so Gone with the Wind is the longest movie ever. To prove it, alright, here's a DVD case. I bought it at Walmart. See? Gone with the Wind, the movie part 1. And then Gone with the Wind, the movie part 2. Which it's basically like the first, like, before intermission and after intermission. Before intermission, the first act, it's about an hour and 48 minutes. And the second act, it is about like 2 hours and 4 minutes. You can kind of actually just watch these movies as two movies. Like, that were just like filmed back to back almost. Like, I don't even... I'm kind of... It's almost... I sometimes think, what if the studio even released this as two movies? Like, Gone with the Wind Part 2 would be the next one and stuff. You know. So, what did I think of this movie? A movie that beat Wizard of Oz, and, I don't know, and some people think it doesn't hold up. Some things don't really hold up. Like, some of the acting really just doesn't hold up. It does drag a bit. But I love the acting from the main leads a lot. I love all the production design. I love how this film looks. The costumes it was really good. I love the maid. This movie is very good. Definitely deserved the award. I mean, at the time it was like the 30s, like Titanic. I mean, this was the highest grossing film until like Jaws and Star Wars came around. And yeah, I actually thought it was very good. I mean, for the very first color movie, it's very impressive. It is colorful as Wizard of Oz, and I like how it does get heavy at times, and just the stuff about the Civil War, I really do like it, and about this just rich woman, like, becoming more independent until she just falls again. But as a romance, it is very interesting too. But yeah, that's Gone with the Wind. It's a very, beautiful film. I actually encourage you to watch it, but definitely watch it as two movies. Don't really expect to watch this in an entire sitting, because if I was to choose like a movie that I wouldn't want to see in a theater, it would be Gone with the Wind. But yeah, so Gone with the Wind, I give it 8 out of 10. All right, so yeah, that's it. All my first viewing movies. I'll definitely be making more of these probably over the summer. Again, these are mostly very highly praised films where I'm going to review them and see if they're really as good. So there we go. I will see you next time. Bye.